I'm not upset that people were having a good time. I'm upset over the misrepresentation of Colonel Sanders by the brand itself. Now, it happened 10 years ago with the United States branch. They thought it'd be a good idea to bring him back from the dead, resurrect him, and then misportray him to the world as something that he wasn't, completely changing the image and persona of Colonel Sanders that people would have. That got me to get on the internet after becoming a Kentucky colonel and talk about my family history and teach people who he actually was versus these ads. It led with me meeting KFC, the United States branch, a few years ago to discuss my issues with those ads, my family and I's issue. So I no longer hold anything against the United States branches for how they treated Uncle Harley, but I haven't forgotten how they've done it. KFC Canada, a few years ago, unveiled this guy. And this guy heavily misrepresents my uncle to the world. And what twists my stomach even more is that they do it after all that he did for Canada when he lived there. He loved the Canadians so much that he continued to own the franchises until 1972 and then gave those to charity. He purchased a home in Mississauga, Canada and got a dual citizenship so he could live 4 to 5 months out of the year there in Canada. He opened a family care center. He did a lot of charity work in Canada. And now Canada thinks it's a good idea to dress some fool up as my uncle, call him Colonel Sanders, get a bunch of content creators calling him Colonel Sanders and sharing that around. I don't like that. It's one thing for people to dress like the Colonel and go around places and have fun or whatever, but this is the official brand misrepresenting who the Colonel was. They're completely changing who he was. Some people are actually thinking it's him, and they're wondering, I thought he died. Or similar comments like that. And I really don't care what anyone else has to say or think about this unless you're from my family, because unless you're from my family, or your family knew my uncle very well, you wouldn't understand where we're coming from the perspective that we are in. We're not saying we're entitled to him. We're not saying we're entitled to owning his image or whatever, but we are family. And family does still care about how he is portrayed. Now, I've opened the door. Since KFC, all branches have shown high interest in resurrecting the Colonel from the dead. Rather than resurrect him from the dead, I'm a Kentucky Colonel, I'm a Sanders, you heard me say it 1,000 times. I'm passionate about the brand, the history, Uncle Harley's product, and who he was. I'm passionate about carrying the family legacy, passionate about keeping it alive in the right way. So I have opened the door of opportunity. If KFC really wants to bring the Colonel back, bring him back in a way that is not actually resurrecting him from the dead, but continuing on his traditions. You started to do it in the 1980s after Uncle Harley died. You hired Uncle Jim to be the spokesperson. He died in 1989. Nobody from the Sanders family has represented the brand since 1989. I'd like to give that opportunity again and just continue his legacy through his family promoting the product. As fun to the public as a lot of these things are, just to dress a guy up and call him Colonel Sanders, say you met him, whatever, it's not right in my perspective. Maybe 30 years down the road, people will hear the message that I've been trying to say and understand what I mean by it. Usually every time I make a video like this, I'm met with a lot of hate from people who think that I'm just a sourpuss. My thing is, if you're going to impersonate my uncle, you need to do it right. Because there's already enough misinformation and rumors spread around the country and the internet that paint him in a bad light. And creating a new character, calling him Colonel Sanders, and portraying that to the public doesn't help those misrepresentations, those misinformed stories that are being spread. It doesn't help clear any of that up. It makes it worse. Not only that, but if we dress everybody and their uncle up as Colonel Harlan Sanders and call them Colonel Sanders, it's not as special or unique anymore. He was a very unique individual. If Kentucky Fried Chicken continues down this path of misrepresenting their founder and making the choices that they have been making, they're going to run the business into the ground. They're already falling behind Raising Cane's and a few other chicken joints. Top corporate members have left for Bojangles because of the move to Texas. They don't want to leave their home here in Louisville, Kentucky. So they moved to a competitor. Several franchisees, veteran franchisees, are selling off their franchises. One of my friends just sold 64 of their stores, and they're one of the largest franchisees in the country. I'm told by several that they are shrinking their footprint in the KFC brand. Now, there's been some good commercials that came out of the United States over the last year. And there's been some good products coming out too, and spin-offs such as Saucy. But the entire brand is advertised on my uncle's values and his chicken. And you start moving away from that, and you start changing that, then all you have to rely on is the Saucy chain and some of these new menu items to keep people coming back. Yum Brands needs to change something into the right direction, or they're going to run this company into the ground. Because right now, the way these branches are acting with their advertising, they're already running that into the ground, and the corporate decisions are making it less unique of a brand. When Kentucky Fried Chicken decides that they want to go back to their roots and do things right, I'll be here waiting. You know how to contact me.